All right, let's see if this is working. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first live stream ever by Pax Populi. Kind of exciting. Never done one of these before. All right, I'm just gonna wait for people to join in here. Send this link around. Bear with me here. I'm not talking to anybody right now. Hello, we have one person here. Great. It is Easter Sunday, so I'm not sure how many people are gonna join in on this, but it's not a problem because I'm just trying this out because I've never done one of these before, and I wanted to do a test run because I'm going to be doing a live stream tomorrow with the German pointer. We're going to be talking about some things that happened recently in Ireland. But before I have that conversation with him, I wanted to just do a trial run and see how this works. All right, let me just share the link here. I wanted to also live stream onto Odyssey, but apparently I don't have that ability using just StreamYard. So let's see here. Okay, so I just sent the link to my Telegram channel. We'll see if anyone comes in. All right. Hallelujah. Hello, how's it going? So yeah, like I was saying, this is kind of just like a ask me anything little session here. I'm not going to be chatting for very long. This is just a test run. Probably I will not even keep this video. I'll just delete it later. But yeah, like I said, tomorrow I am going to be doing a live stream with the German pointer, and I wanted to just do a test run, make sure this is all working. So if you are in the chat, can you hear me? Is everything fine? Is this all working out? Let me know, and then I'll know that I'm doing this correctly. In the meantime, I hope everyone's enjoying their Easter Sunday. It's kind of fitting that I'm doing my first live stream on this day. If you're in my Telegram channel, then you know that the other day I shared something about how before Europeans adopted the Gregorian calendar, New Year was actually celebrated in April with the advent of spring. And even if you look at Persian populations, even to this day, Persian peoples celebrate New Year in April. I think it's like the first week of April. April 1st is like their New Year. So New Year, I guess, Easter Sunday, new life, and now I'm trying my first stream. So something new for this channel. Never really done live streams before because I don't tend to talk about topical things, and I usually just do like presentations on much, I guess, more ample topics, like something that might be a philosophical theme or just maybe something to explore a topic a bit more in depth. So I've never really done live streams before, but like I said, I'm doing one tomorrow, so I just want to make sure this all works out well. And I'll just be here chatting for a bit. So if you guys have any questions or if there's something you wanted to chat about, go ahead, type it in like all caps or something so I can know if that's a question that you want to talk about. And then, yeah, we'll just go from there. All right. In the meantime, I guess I'll say that last night I rewatched a film that I think is really underrated. You probably know of it if you like sort of cult classics. It's called Dark City. Really good film. Recommend watching it. It's from the 90s, so it's before things got really paused and cancerous. So it's still a good era of film, and it's got a great plot. It's very original. It's actually a film that is so original that it actually The Matrix copied it. If you watch Dark City, you'll see that The Matrix is actually stealing even some of the most iconic, dialogue, like "Hello, Mr. Anderson." That all comes from Dark City. So definitely a film to check out. All right. What else? What else? See how many people join in here. Good. Yep. Good. Okay. Yeah, like I said, this is just something to see if it's working all right. This is not anything special. We'll just be here for a few minutes. Yeah. Okay. You're coming through clear. Perfect. Thank you. Great. And then, like I was saying earlier too, I tried to see if I could set this up for Odyssey as well, because I do like to help that platform, and I would like to see it grow, and my channel there grow as well, just in case something happens to YouTube, if for no other reason. But apparently, with StreamYard, you have to like sign up for a premium plan if you want to use other platforms besides your YouTube channel. Although, talking about Odyssey, Erber Derber, who you guys might be familiar with, I was on his show. I think it was like last month. He recently said that one of his guests was one of the I guess content creators or commentators that he had on. He got his Odyssey channel eliminated, banned. So that's pretty disconcerting. It's difficult to gauge whether or not platforms are totally trustworthy, but I've always maintained that I don't really require platforms to be 100% on our side, or I don't require platforms to be owned by our guys. I don't have anything against using enemy platforms to subvert them and get my message out, get things I want to talk about out to a larger audience. Why not take advantage of it? All right, let's see. We got oh, hello. We've got Whitgard. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's one of those names where I read it every day, but I don't have the occasion to pronounce it. So I think it's Whitgard. And Whit is like white, right? And Gard is person, maybe? I don't know. Sure, you'll let me know. Good. All right. Yeah. So this is just a test. Like I said, tomorrow will be the official live stream, the first real big live stream that I'm doing with the German Pointer. We're going to be talking about something that happened in Ireland not too long ago, like I think about like 5 days ago. There were some murders that happened in Sligo, and we're going to be talking about that and how it relates to the world that the ruling class, the powers that be, or should not be, rather, have created for us. Very, very messed up times. Anyway, I hope you're all enjoying your weekend, though. All right. This is kind of what's the expectations with Spanish government restrictions this year, Babyface Nilsson. Oh, okay. So Spanish restrictions, really, it's such a roller coaster. So we're still required to wear masks in indoor settings. Just a few weeks ago, they wanted to bring back requirements for wearing masks. Well, not a few weeks ago, during Christmas time, so a few months ago, the local authorities, or it was pretty much nationwide, they started re-implementing the requirement to wear masks both in interior settings and exterior settings. So that would be like having to wear masks when you're walking down the street again, which was the policy, at the height of the pandemic. Those were the situations where I was stopped 3 times by the police and the Guardia Civil because I would be like walking my dog without a mask on, and the police would stop me. And so people were fed up enough that it wasn't as implemented or as enforced as it was, compared to a year ago. But everyone did sort of comply again. I talked about this in my Telegram that, I haven't gone to the gym in over a year because they still require you to wear a mask even while you're training, even while you're exercising, you're meant to keep your mask on at all times. And I just found it impossible to do exercise with a mask on and be able to breathe and to be to be able to function well. And then I used to practice Muay Thai as well. I used to do Muay Thai, but then when Omicron appeared, the owner of the Muay Thai gym got all freaked out and just acted in such a feminine, fearful way. Not only just afraid of the virus, but he was also just afraid of his reputation and what people would say if he didn't require the the people who train in his gym to wear masks. So he required everyone to wear masks in his gym while training Muay Thai, while practicing Muay Thai, which if you know anything about martial arts, you know anything about Muay Thai, it's really intense. It's a great workout. It's a great martial art. It's, in my opinion, it's probably the best one for striking. And, there's not much of a ground game. You probably want to go to jiu-jitsu for that. But if you just want to, stand and fight, Muay Thai is the best. So it's really intense. You can't do it without wearing a mask. I don't know what these people are thinking. I don't know how they physically are capable of doing this. And I just straight up said, well, fuck this. I'm not doing that. And I haven't gone back to his gym since. I don't know. I think they are still wearing masks even into, April. So that's the mask situation. People are still, you have to wear one if you want to go into a supermarket. Lots of people wear them as they're walking down the street. If you go out and just, walk from one end of the town where I live to the other end, you'll see the majority of people wearing masks. But there's rumors that after Semana Santa, which finishes today, the mask requirements are going to be lifted. This is really interesting, though, and how many political parties and how many autonomous communities are trying to fight this. They love the masks. I don't know. I feel like I'm surprised that no one has done this either. I'm surprised no one has investigated to see if anyone had made any major investments in like mask fabrication companies, or if they have some sort of deals with mask suppliers, because there has to be ulterior motives, because after 2 years now, it's pretty much known, even outside of, schizo conspiracy circles, that these masks don't do anything. The ones that most people are wearing don't do anything. And actually, just the other day, a Spanish media outlet called Voz Populi, so not Vox Populi, but Voz Populi, they had an investigation in which they revealed that Spain, the health ministry of Spain, the national health ministry. What's up, Hapa? How you doing? So the National Health Ministry of Spain didn't want to implement such strict usage of masks, and Spain has been very strict. I think along with Italy, probably Spain is the most strict. It's never been just an option here. It's been a requirement under pain of penalties, for fines, police stopping you. I had the Guardia Civil come to my workplace and like fetch me out of my classroom where I was teaching, because I'd been spotted walking down the street without a mask. And so it was really intense. But apparently, according to this revelatory investigation, the National Health Ministry of Spain never wanted it to be this intense. What happened was the autonomous communities started making their own decisions, which is their right, their privilege to do it. That's how Spain is. And a lot of them just wanted to do it. They wanted to have this really gung-ho mask policy. And there's no difference between the autonomous communities that are controlled by the PSOE socialists or by Partido Popular, which is supposedly your center-right party, which they're just as bad. They're horrible. So it made no difference where you lived, north, south, Madrid, Barcelona, Andalusia. It didn't make a difference. And then also the decisions were made from the European Center for Disease Control and the World Health Organization. Apparently, there were these online conferences, video conferences, and memorandums sent from the European Center for Disease Control and the World Health Organization basically dictating to Spain that you have to do it this way. You have to have these strict mask policies. And it's just so curious why Spain and not other countries, because as from my understanding, countries like England and Ireland, some Nordic countries, some Scandinavian countries, the mask was always a recommended thing, like an option. Like you might walk into a supermarket and the shop assistant would say, would you like to wear a mask or would you mind putting on a mask? And if you had the balls to just look them in the eye and say no and carry on doing your shopping, you could enjoy your day without wearing a mask. Whereas in Spain, I tried it once. I tried going into a supermarket without a mask, and the staff there pretty much had a mental breakdown, and we were probably going to call the police on me. And I'd already had several run-ins with the police. I didn't want any more. So yeah, it's been very intense here. Then regarding the vaccines, the last time I checked, Spain again was going to lift the requirement to be vaccinated, fully vaccinated, right? So I guess that means 3 doses now, or is it 4? Have we arrived at 4 doses? I'm not quite sure, but they were going to lift the requirement to be vaccinated in order to enter Spain, but then again they just postponed it, and they prolonged it. So now you still can't come to Spain if you're not vaccinated. So again, it's like I haven't seen my parents since 2017. And then, it would be nice for them to be able to come and visit me one day. But, with all the restrictions and everything, it's like, when is that going to be possible? I haven't seen my family in Italy since around that same time as well, because, you go and see your family, you go, say hi during the summer or during the holidays. And then, your daily life just sort of happens. And then all of a sudden in 2020, everything changed, and we've still been living under these impositions for the past 2 years. So the time flies, and I realize, wow, it's been almost like 4 years since I've been in Italy the last time, or since I've been in Ireland or any of these places I used to go frequently. Because I don't know what the vax requirements are, and I'm not going to stick things up my nose, or certainly not going to sit on a plane for several hours wearing a mask. It's just ridiculous. So, and every week it seems like the things change. Like I read that it looks like this one country is going to be canceling the restrictions, but then they extend them, then they postpone that decision, or like Austria, they in January made it like legal. It was passed in parliament that every resident, not just citizen, if you were even just a resident, foreigner living in Austria, and you were over the age of 18, you had to be vaccinated. And if you didn't, the penalties were like serving a jail sentence or getting even like a 6,000 euro fine, or just really crazy things. That was in January or even December. And then like a month ago, that's now been canceled. They've lifted that restriction. So it's like, were these just scare tactics to try and intimidate and frighten people into getting vaccinated? Well, that's a pretty horrible thing to do, because it's important to kind of maintain your humanity and never forget that, yes, well, most people got vaccinated because they were stupid, because they were afraid, because they believed the official narrative that this is, the worst thing since the bubonic plague, and the vaccine is safe and effective, trademark, they went and got all their doses. But other people were really in between a rock and a hard place. Like, what would you do if, for example, you are the breadwinner in your family, and your employer says that you have to get vaccinated, or they're simply going to terminate your contract. They're going to fire you. And you've got kids to feed. You've got bills to pay. What would you do? And now imagine that it's not like your employer saying that, but now the state says, like in the case of Austria, the state says, if you don't get vaccinated, you could end up in prison, or facing like a 6-figure fine. Like, I feel a lot of emotions about that. Rage, um, pity. I feel a great sense of injustice, but I also feel a lot of pity and sympathy for the people who were intimidated by that and went and got vaccinated. Because who knew in December, when the Austrian parliament passed that draconian measure, that within a matter of months they would just say, "Oh, psych." These are life-altering decisions, and they're just experimenting with us. It's disgusting. So we'll see what happens in Spain. I'm not keeping up to date with as much of the daily changes, the daily news, as I would have been doing like a year ago, because I'm just fed up, and my way of life has completely changed. I've lost most of my friends, if not all of them, because of not going along with the official narrative and not getting vaccinated and speaking out about the lies and the injustices that were being that we were suffering. And I don't really feel like going out much anyway. I don't want to go to places that a few months ago treated me like a second-class citizen. I'll probably never go back to the gym that I used to go to. I will never go back to the Muay Thai gym, because I didn't just walk away from these places. I tried to find common ground. I tried to get my point across politely, saying, look, I can't work out wearing a mask. I need to be able to breathe. It's more anti-hygienic than hygienic to be forcing us to wear masks in these situations. And there's no scientific excuse or justification for forcing people to wear masks while they're practicing martial arts. This is crazy. And you just can't get through these people. So I've lost a lot of respect for that. These kinds of people. I don't really want anything to do with them. So I just kind of have become kind of a hermit. I stay at home, or I go on walks with my dog, and that's about it. I don't really pay attention to too much of what's going on anymore. All right. Will Keith happily go vegan when the system cuts off meat in Ireland? Yeah, that's a good question, Hapa. Who knows? I'm sure. Yeah, I can't wait as the years goes on. I can't wait for it to become, schizo grifter posting to say, I don't think a diet consisting of soy, mealworms, and rabbit food is good for us. I can't wait for everyone who opposes the top-down command economy control of our food supply and the pricing out or elimination entirely of meat and dairy and animal proteins from our diets, for that to be the new boomer libertarian schizo posting. I just can't wait. It's gonna be great. And I posted something about this not too long ago, about how there's all these Israeli tech firms, because I guess they are like tech companies, all these Israeli laboratories who are at the forefront of designing, I guess is the word, the sort of the lab grown meat from animal cells, and they just they grow the meat from that. There's no actual animal involved, and that's meant to be like a solution, along with the other synthetic meats like the 3D printer meat or Beyond Burger meat, or all that stuff. And then there's the push towards vegan diets and things like that. And I think most people realize that these are unhealthy diets. Like, even I think vegans and vegetarians would admit that it's one thing to eat like natural, organic, if possible, fruit and veg that comes from nutrient-rich soil. It's one thing to have a diet that's based on that, even entirely based on that. And it's really a different thing to be eating these sort of like, I mean, if you look at the ingredients list of a Beyond meat burger patty. It's just full of unnatural stuff, lots of numbers, not actual ingredients, and it's totally lacking in nutrients in comparison to the real thing. And then, of course, we all know about the negative effects of eating too much soy. And then there are a lot of, like, this is kind of controversial, but I think there is ample evidence to suggest that a lot of vegetables that we eat, a lot of plant-based foods that we eat, are full of toxins that we don't digest very well. And if you eat too much of this stuff, it can, wear away at the lining in your gut. It can cause digestive problems. And also, talking about protein, not every protein is the same. The best way I could explain it is, it's not that you are what you eat, it's that you are what your body absorbs. So, for example, if you do lots of sport, if you are interested in weightlifting, or if you want to put on muscle or things like this, you can eat 50 grams of lentils or 50 grams of beef. And the 50 grams of beef is much better for you. It's still 50 grams of protein and 50 grams of protein from the lentils, right? But the beef absorbs in your body in a much more effective way than the protein that your body absorbs from the lentils. So I'm, as a person who enjoys, like I said, before all these lockdowns and stuff, before all the mask bullshit and everything, I'm pretty sporty, and I'm really interested in this stuff, and I'm really interested in how to make the most of my nutrition so that I can perform at the level I want to perform at with whatever sport I'm interested in. So I kind of know what I'm talking about here, and I'm really not keen on the plans that our benevolent ruling class has for us regarding our diet. But I did still get some pushback because there are some who are saying that this is just the inevitable solution, I guess, to use the word solution, to the fact that the world's overpopulated. And in order to feed the world, we have to take these measures. But I'm not so sure. In the first place, I don't understand how. Well, in the first place, Europe is not overpopulated. And if anything, Europe is having a population decline. It's having a population bust that's of more concern than overpopulation. But in any case, let's say India is overpopulated, China is overpopulated, the African continent is overpopulated. These populations are exploding, and the planet's not going to be able to sustain all these people. Okay, but if we were to have, for example, regenerative local ranching and farming in some European country, I'm not quite sure how. Like, I understand, in the world that I don't control, that everything is globalized and connected, and our leaders take decisions that don't benefit us. They send billions of euros and billions of pounds and dollars to countries like Nigeria and the Congo and other third world countries to prop them up. And we know that these vast expenditures of money into the third world has played a role in their population boom. I understand that. But in a normal world where everything isn't so connected, and food supply systems aren't dependent on what happens thousands of miles away in one country, and our leaders don't make decisions to benefit third world peoples, but they make decisions to benefit us, I don't understand how Nigeria reaching a population of 700 million means that people in Switzerland can't eat meat, or that Ireland has to decrease its cattle population by 50%, which is a real thing that they're trying to do. So I'm not sure how that works. Why Irish ranchers and farmers have to slaughter 50% of their livestock or reduce it, by certain deadlines, and the Irish have to change their diet and stop eating meat products because Nigeria's population has increased. I don't know. And also, if we were using regenerative, pasture-raised cows that, eat the grass in one pasture, defecate natural fertilizer, and then when that pasture is fully grazed, they move on to another one. The poop that they dropped helps to grow the grass, and while they're eating in the other pasture, over the months, that's taking place, their former pasture gets a chance to regenerate, and then you just alternate. That's where I buy my meat in Spain from. Every few months or so, I'll make like a big purchase of meat products from one of these regenerative farmers that are all over Spain, and like they just put it in a big box and deliver it to my door. So I mean, it's not like these things don't exist. It's not like there aren't people who are trying this. In any case, though, whatever the methods, switching to a vegan diet, getting all of let's imagine, there's 7 billion people on Earth, so we got to stop eating. It's too many people. Switching to a vegan diet isn't going to solve that problem either. The problem of environmental contamination, pollution, climate change, whatever. The amount of environmental destruction that goes into sustaining a vegan diet is arguably just as bad, if not worse, as the amount of environmental degradation and contamination and pollution that goes into industrial livestock farming. In order to grow like just a few acres of soy, you have to destroy so much biodiversity, like tens of thousands of gophers, rabbits, butterflies, bees, birds, trees, all sorts of insects. They all get destroyed because you have to wipe out acres and acres and acres of their ecosystem in order to plant all these massive fields of soy or corn or whatever else. So like that's still not a solution. And then, all the pesticides and herbicides that go into maintaining these vast fields of soy, wheat, corn, etc. Like you're still having to deal with the problem of environmental degradation. And I do care a lot about contamination. I do care a lot about pollution. I don't care so much about like the ozone layer because that was fake and gay. The hole in the ozone has resealed. I don't care about climate change. I think climate has always changed. That's the whole point of a climate. It's not got much to do with us. Tens of thousands of years ago, this planet was an ice cube. Then the temperatures increased. There were no people driving cars or flying in planes or eating cows back then. How did that happen? And then actually, the planet is going to go through a grand solar minimum, and everything's going to be really cold. Actually, we're approaching an ice age. Like, I don't really understand. It's the same thing of like the dissident right, who calls people who speak out against, COVID vaccines or lockdowns or all this stuff. They call them schizos and boomers and libertarians and stuff. But it's like, that the ruling class, that the globalist regime, that the powers that be lie constantly and don't have our best interests at heart. So why would you suddenly believe the official narrative? The media always lies too. So why would you suddenly start believing the official narrative when it comes to these things? And then we see it again with like some of this climate stuff. There's a lot of people on the dissident right who do believe the official narrative of like Greta Thunberg type climate alarmism, which is really strange. Why that this gap seems to exist between like our knowledge of, our red pilling about all this, demographic stuff, race realism, international finance, etc. And then, well, okay, I guess, they're telling the truth when it comes to climate or when it comes to COVID. It's just very strange. But so like, I think it's a bit of a truism that whatever the regime, whatever the legacy media, whatever the political class is saying, believe the opposite. And so we're not approaching, this great catastrophe of the planet getting too hot. I actually believe that we are going to have a grand solar minimum, and we're going to be, maybe not in my lifetime, maybe yes, a mini ice age, or maybe a long ice age is actually what's coming. So that's my take on that. But I do expect that a lot of people in the in whatever constitutes the dissident right nowadays, I expect a lot of them will embrace veganism, to own the libs, or not to own the libs, I'm sorry, to own the boomer cons and to own the schizos. They will definitely embrace it. Yeah, the DR is a mess. The DR doesn't even exist anymore. I don't even think, if it did exist, it doesn't anymore. There is very little I see that actually unites us, and I'm not going to unite just on being white. Like I said, I pretty much only ever use the term white when I'm talking about an American context, because I think it's useful and true to talk about white people in America, or like Canada or Australia. But in general, I prefer to talk about individual European nations and ethnicities. So no, just because some white people in America agree with me about, like, international finance, if that's the only thing that we are united on, but then they want to embrace Chinese style statism, or they embrace Greta Thunberg style climate alarmism, or sort of hidden hand imposition of a vegan diet. Like, I don't care. We're not on the same side. We don't want the same things. And actually, you are actively working to make my life worse. And no, I consider you then someone in opposition to me. So yeah, the DR is pretty useless right now. All right, what else? They're Malthusians. Not sure says they're Malthusians. They want to kill most of the people on the planet. Yeah, like, that's another thing too. And I was getting some pushback on when I posted that thing with Israeli companies funding all this lab-grown meat stuff. Like, these arguments about the Earth being too overpopulated and this is going to cause disaster. Like, this is an argument from the elite. It's sort of like an anxiety of the elite class that's been around since the 19th century. So it's kind of like, there might be some truth to it. I think in certain parts of the world, yes, there's a problem of overpopulation, obviously. And I'm not going to deny that. But I also think it's kind of like, if you have been saying for the past 35 years that the Arctic ice caps are going to melt by, certain date, and then we passed that date like 10 years ago and they're still there. I'm sorry. How many times do you get to be so wrong before it's okay to doubt? So I just have lots of doubt about that. Also, I think the main problem, like I was talking about with Unwashed and Thomas Baden Rees a few days ago, these problems of overpopulation, pollution, environmental degradation, how do we feel these people, etc. These are all problems caused by the post-industrial revolution society and the technological society that we're living in. So if you want to really think about solutions to this, the solution isn't there's too many people in China or India or Nigeria, so Irish people need to start eating like rabbits. The solution is we need a collapse of the industrial technological society, and that involves a lot of suffering and a lot of people dying, probably. So you have to keep that in mind as well. Like, I don't mind people who like pine for expressionism or the collapse of societies, like Kaczynski did, right? But then you should prepare yourself for those eventualities, and be aware of just how bad it's going to be. It's like, it's not going to be a good thing to have to live through. Yeah, Malthus was clearly wrong. These people are just evil. Yeah, I mean, are they evil? Yeah, I don't know. This was something that was like, Keith Woods was making fun of Thultite about this idea that there might be people who are evil in the world. And, Keith Woods basically took, I think it's basically like the Aristotle line. I think it was Aristotle who said this, that evil doesn't exist because no man chooses evil. Every man like if you were to present a man with two choices, one objective, obviously good, and one obviously evil, no man chooses to do evil. What men do, what humans do, is we do evil things, but we justify them, those things, in our minds. So uh, cheating on someone, we'll justify it by saying, well, I wasn't being satisfied with my boyfriend or girlfriend, or I did it to get some attention, or I did it to whatever, or I was drunk, or the relationship was on its way out anyway, or whatever, or killing someone. We find ways to justify it. It's like very likely that people wake up and say, I want to cheat on my girlfriend to hurt her, or I want to kill someone just for the hell of it, just because it's fun to kill someone. There might be some people like that, but they are such a minority. I think that's what Keith was saying, that people like Malthus or Klaus Schwab or Bill Gates, they don't wake up and say, how can I do evil things today? I don't know. I don't know. I think they just see us as cattle. I think they just see us as insects. They don't care either way about our well-being. It's just like if you how many of you have killed a fly? How many of you have killed a spider? How many of you have killed, stepped on an anthill? You don't care. And well, there's 5 million other ants. Like, it's not going to matter if I stepped on 5, or even in the past, before. I think nowadays people have like a really strange attachment to their pets, where their pets are now become like children. But there's people out in the world today that use their dogs, for example, their hunting dogs. They don't, they spend all day outside in the kennels, and their only contact with their owner is when there's a hunt, or other type of work dogs, things like that. Cats on a farm, their job is just to kill rodents and snakes and things like that. And so if one of your hunting dogs dies, or one of your farm cats dies, it's not a big tragedy. Or if you're a cattle rancher, you don't name your cows, you don't form a connection to your cows, and you even experiment on your livestock to make them grow faster, or whatever. And I think the elites, the ruling class, treat us like that. They experiment on us, they sacrifice us, they kill us, and they don't care, because, well, they have an end that they want to get to. They want to make more money, they want to have more power, they want to shape society in their image. If you think about like the Fabian society, and how they sort of, in a very clever way, mold society without causing obvious upheaval or revolution or violence. They just sort of, incrementally make significant changes to society that nobody notices until it's too late. So yeah, I just think of that they are like farmers. They're like kids stepping on an anthill. They don't care about us. But I also do think that there are some evil intentions. Yeah, I obviously think that there are some, like, I don't want to say it's objectively good or objectively bad or objective truth, but like, if for example, with the vaccines, if that the vaccines are gonna, like, I think Pfizer obviously knows that their vaccines are going to cause all of these different side effects and adverse reactions and potential fatalities. And that's why they've tried to hide all of the data for, like, they tried to have it under lock and key for 75 years and all this stuff. So yeah, I would say knowingly putting out to market a vaccine, and then having like the media companies that shill for that vaccine and promote it, and this segment was brought to you by Pfizer and all that stuff, and the vaccine is safe and effective, but they all know that actually it's not. Yeah, I think that's evil to do that. Sure. All right. Are you unable to scroll up and view old comments? I guess so. Like I said, this is the first stream, guys. I've never done this before. So if I miss a question or if there was something that you wanted me to see, I don't think I can scroll up and see old messages. So send it again. If it's a question, like put it in all caps so I can see it, that sort of thing. Get my attention that way. Yeah, and just to repeat, guys, this is just a test run. I've never done a live stream before. So I was just wanting to make sure I do it right, because tomorrow evening I am doing an actual like official live stream that I want to go well. I'm going to be doing that with the German Pointer, and we're going to be talking about these murders that happened in Ireland, in Sligo, a few days ago. It's just a perfect example, talking about how the ruling class experiments with us. We are just lab rats for their ideological, sociological, economic experiments. So a few days ago in Sligo, an Iranian migrant, very homophobic Iranian migrant, killed two gay Irishmen. And like, Ireland is a country that just over the past like 5 years, even, the change has been so drastic, and Ireland has been really targeted for intense cultural subversion, subversion of its traditions, and demographic subversion. And so now with these murders, we're seeing, the two sort of pet projects, the Open Borders project and the LGBTQ project, sort of clashing. Like, you can't have both, But again, the ruling class and the activist groups who push both of these things don't care when the experiment blows up in the laboratory, because it doesn't. I was going to say blows up in their faces. It doesn't blow up in their faces. They don't suffer the consequences of when these experiments go wrong. And this is another thing that Kaczynski wrote about in Industrial Society and Its Future. That the reason why modern people that are living in the post-industrial society and the technological society are so ill at ease, and we're suffering from so much depression and anxiety and all these different mental illnesses and so much degradation even of our physical health, etc., is because all of these changes, um, all of these technological advances, quote unquote advances, many of them are not really advances at all, but they've all been imposed on us like experiments. We didn't have a say in any of it. We couldn't object. We couldn't reject any of this stuff. We couldn't say, you know what? No, I don't want 5G towers in my town. I don't want to have to use a smartphone. I don't want to have to, or like children's schools, where now all the kids have to go to school with a iPad. It's like, no, I don't want my kid to be using so many screens and have to use these devices just to go to school, just to do his homework. They've all been imposed on us, and so we never got a choice in the matter. We were never asked. And it's the same thing with this experiment of, let's simultaneously import people from like the most traditional countries, the most homophobic countries, and also promote gay pride constantly. Like, I was gonna, gay pride month. It's not a month anymore. It's all the time. It's all the time. It could be a gay themed day of the week in June. Then the whole month of July is Gay Pride Month, and then some week in August is Gay Visibility Week. It's just like, it's constant. And then the pro-abortion thing, which was really big, like 2 or 3 years ago in Ireland, was just really rent the country as well. You can't have all of this going on simultaneously. Like, it's an experiment, and unfortunately, the lives of those two men were just, like I said, they were just like the ants that get stepped on, but nobody cares. And I don't know anything about the men who died. They were gay. Okay. I've had gay friends in my life. I've known many gay people. At the end of the day, as someone who cares about the Irish people, someone who cares about all the peoples of European nations, I don't care that the gays these men were gay and they got killed. Like, it's kind of okay. It can be funny to shit post and do some edgelord posting about oh no, hardcore homophobic Muslim killed some gay dudes. Oh, what a pity. But at the end of the day, these are two real lives that were snuffed out, that would not have been snuffed out if it wasn't for this experiment of open borders. And I think it's normal that even right-wing Irish nationalists should be upset about this, even if the victims were gay. They're still their kin that were murdered by a foreigner, an invader who has no business being there. So that's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. Favorite Spanish meal? Spanish food. I would probably say like tapas in general. I just like tapas. That's, I think, Spain's best culinary contribution. Especially like I used to live in Granada. And so Granada is a place where if you go into the bar and you just order like a beer, they will give you a free little plate of food with every drink. When I say free, but it's like maybe like 25 cents. So, and every time you order a drink, you'll get another different plate of food, like a little plate. Or in some places, actually, in some bars or restaurants, it's actually quite a nice portion that they'll give you of different food each time you ordered another round. So that's nice. And then other cities do this too. Avila near Madrid is an old medieval town that's like still has its medieval walls around it and a big castle and everything. It's really cool. And they do this as well. If you order a drink in a bar, they'll give you free food. And one of the best tapas I ever had there was really like Spaniards are really creative in their tapas in some places. And this tapa was it had like a pastry base, and then it had different layers. And one layer was like Iberian ham. Then there was a layer of melted manchego cheese. Then there was a layer of here it's called jamon York. It's like the pink ham that you get like in England. And then there was a layer on top of that of Nutella. And it sounds like a weird combination: ham, cheese, and Nutella on like a pastry base and wrapped in like a pastry. But it worked perfectly. If you had that with a glass of red wine, the flavors mixed perfectly. It was really, really good. Where I live is not so adventurous with its cuisine. It's a small town in Andalusia, and here every bar has the same menu. Every restaurant has the same menu. It's just your typical like rabo de toro, which is bull tail with like chips in a brown sauce. Then you get what else? Some other common stuff. Croquetas, croquettes. I guess it's like I don't know what you call them in English. They're like little bits of batter filled with like meat or spinach or cheese or things like that, or maybe a combination of all of them, and then they're like deep fried. And then also, I make fun of the Spaniards here all the time because they like to go on about their healthy Mediterranean diet, which is total bullshit. They don't have a healthy Mediterranean diet here. They eat so much fried food. There's so much like bar grub that people eat every day. If you want to eat really well, you need to go to someone's like a grandmother. Have your grandmother cook for you. That's like how you're going to get good Spanish food. I don't usually eat out so often. Like I do all my cooking at home. I cook from scratch. I don't ever really eat like pre-made meals or anything like that. So at home, I just kind of like I eat lots of meat. I eat like sweet potatoes, things like that. Well, there's one recipe that I do like as well. It's called carilladas, which are pig cheeks, and you have to braise them and cook them over a long period of time so they get nice and soft, and then you can just sort of like cut them open with a fork and a butter knife. The first time so this recipe I invented by accident. I didn't plan this at all. This is when my first year living in Spain. I went to the supermarket. I didn't even really have any, like, a very high level of Spanish. I didn't know. I went to the supermarket, went to the butcher's area, and I bought cariadas because I looked like, what is a cariada? Okay, pork cheeks. Sounds good. Okay. I bought some. And then I just had them in my refrigerator. And then I also bought this thing called membrillo, which I think in English is called quince. It's like a big, it's like a member of the apple family. It's this big apple, but you can't eat it raw. You have to prepare this in some way. It's you cannot bite into it. It's really, really hard, really, really mealy. And so I had this membrillo. I didn't know what to do with it. I was just like, okay, I'm going to buy some of this. This smells good. This could be interesting. And then I'll just figure out what I can do with it. So what I had done with the membrillo was I boiled it in water with a bunch of herbs and spices and honey and balsamic vinegar, little drops of balsamic vinegar. And then when the membrillo or the quince had become nice and soft, I extracted it from the liquid, and then I think I mashed it into a puree and then refrigerated it. And then I had all this liquid left over that I was like, well, I put all this honey and balsamic vinegar and basil and all this other stuff, thyme. I'm just going to throw it out. So I left the pot with all this liquid. I just left it standing. And then the next day, I took out the cariadas, the pork cheeks, and I was going to prepare them. And I realized, man, these are really thick. Like, you can't just cook this, medium rare. You do a little, cook it on one side a few seconds, cook it on the other, and then you're set. You have to like do something with this. So I looked up online, like, what are you supposed to do with this? And I read it. You're supposed to brine them. Then you sort of like cook them in a stew or some sort of long process, cooking them in liquid to get the meat nice and soft. And I figured, oh, great. Okay, I've got this liquid from the other day. I'll just use that. So I put the cariadas in a pan, and I use mineral iron pans because Teflon pans are full of like these microtoxins that can get into your body and really mess you up. So I always like cook with lots of butter, and I cook, even though I live in Spain, I'll occasionally cook with olive oil. Olive oil is obviously, just like in Italy, people use olive oil way more than they use butter here, because that's like, I am surrounded by olive trees. Like, this is the main staple crop here is olives. That and grapes for wine. But I enjoy cooking with butter more. I think it adds better flavor, and I also think it probably is healthier actually than olive oil. Not to say olive oil is unhealthy, but I just think animal fats are better than like seed fats, I guess. Anyway, so I covered the pan with lots of butter, and I seared the cariadas on each side to get them kind of crispy. But then I dumped in the water with all that, all that honey and herbs and stuff, and I just left it. And what happened was, because it had so much of the sugar from the balsamic vinegar and the honey, and I think I even added some brown sugar and all that stuff. And I love the combination of sweet and savory. So I love combining like fruit and sweet flavors with meat. I love that. But what happened with this liquid then is that I had left it for so long that it actually became like a reduced sauce. And it was so good. It just reduced to this like dark brown, really, really succulent, really dense sauce that just coated the meat. And it was perfect. And I put that on top of like a puree of potatoes. And I was amazed. I was like, holy shit, what did I just invent here? And so I make that recipe. Membrillo is only in season like during the winter months. So every winter I make this dish at least once or twice every winter. And I've been doing that for the past like 6 years now. But it was a total fluke. It was a total accident. Real Italian food, better than Italian-American food, Hapa says. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Italian-American food isn't Italian food. It's just not. Yeah, like, I don't know. Maybe if you go to certain big cities, you might be able to find like a pretty good authentic Italian pizzeria. You can find that anywhere. Like, You can find like good Napolitano style pizza in Madrid, in Paris, whatever. In Granada, there was one where I lived. When I lived in Granada, there was one there. But like fettuccine Alfredo, that doesn't exist in Italy. A lot of Italian food actually is a bit off-putting, a bit shocking when Americans or like Anglo people come to Italy. If you take them to like small towns, if you take them to the country, rural areas, the food that real Italians eat surprises them, because we eat like tripe and liver and it's not all creamy pasta and stuff. So yeah, real Italian food is not very similar at all to Italian American food. But that's that's just true with everything. Like it's another reason why the whole shitlib blue check Twitter thing about immigration is so great because of the food. Think about how diverse our food is. It's like you wouldn't like Chinese food if you actually went to China. You stupid shitlib. You wouldn't like Vietnamese food if you actually went to Vietnam and ate real Vietnamese food. These foods, the Chinese food, Vietnamese food, whatever, it all adapts to the Western palate and just becomes like deep fried or cooked in seed oils and stuff, and it's just not anywhere near like what these people are actually eating. So it's just such a stupid thing to say. Let's see what else. There was a girl in Ireland ripped and murdered a few weeks ago. Yeah, and that was interesting too, because like that was a Romanian, I think, that did that. And yeah, it was so funny because this is another thing that we're going to be talking about tomorrow, is you're not allowed to criticize these experiments, because this woman was murdered. I think she was out jogging, right? And it's like one of those things that it's the stereotypical situation. It's what everyone is most afraid of. It's what we get. It's what is depicted in like Hollywood films. That you're out jogging. The woman is out jogging. She gets attacked by a psychopath. Thankfully, that's actually hardly ever what happens. Most of these occurrences happen between people who know each other. The aggressor is usually someone the woman knows. But anyway, so it happened like that. That's a horrible situation. Yeah, Roma Gypsy. Yeah. So when this first happened, it was so funny. Like, you couldn't talk about the ethnic origin of the killer, the criminal. They wanted, the mainstream reaction, the leftist reaction, the powers that be reaction was to blame all men, make this a problem about men, not about this individual with certain behavioral disorders, right? Like the evil that we were talking about earlier. I'm not saying that he was mentally disturbed. I'm talking about he's evil, right? Or the fact that he shouldn't even been in Ireland in the first place to commit these crimes, or any of that. So so they tried to say this is a male problem. This is like here we call it, in Spain we call it violencia machista. It's like anti-female violence. It's just they want to promote this notion that there's this pandemic of violence against women, and these men just want to kill women. They just hate women. They just want to kill women. They never pay attention to the fact that these men often kill their children as well, or they kill themselves, or that women commit almost the same amount of occurrences of domestic violence as men do. That's reported actually, and I should not say domestic, but killing their spouse. Women do it. Like, I think in Spain one time in a calendar year, women killed like 34 women had killed their husbands, and 54 men had killed their wives. So it's like not that big of a difference. But what they're trying to promote is this idea that it's just men who hate women, and they just want to walk around the streets killing women. And in Ireland, they try to do the same thing. That this is a male problem. This is the rape culture, right? And then a few months later, 2 men get murdered, So what are we gonna do about this now? So what we can't criticize. This is what are they gonna say now? It's homophobic violence. And again, you're not allowed to talk about the ethnicity or the origin of the killer or how he got to Ireland, why he's in Ireland in the first place. So yeah, it's a pretty messed up situation. Yeah, African food. African food. You know what? I'll say this about African food. Going back to like eating meat and how it's healthy for you. And I again, you might know this if you're in my Telegram chat. I've talked about this a few times. I was a vegetarian for 2 full years. I was a vegetarian. And I did it. I did this when I lived in America, when I still lived in America. I did it because of the fact that American livestock is like it's kind of like the Wild West still. There's no regulation. Like you can inject these animals with all sorts of stuff that ostensibly in Europe is not allowed. And there's so many antibiotics and hormones and stuff that are injected into chickens and cows and all sorts of stuff. And I really don't like the industrial complex of livestock and agriculture. I do think it's cruel. I do think it's wrong. I don't like it. And I don't want to consume animals that are that grow in those conditions, that are raised in those conditions. Because you are what you eat, right? And so I decided for ethical reasons and for not wanting to consume animals that had been injected with all that stuff, I went vegetarian, not vegan, but I went vegetarian. And I didn't mind it. I learned a lot of recipes, and I learned how to like adapt and modify lots of different recipes. I learned a lot of how to use a lot of different ingredients that I would never, considered using to make different dishes and stuff. But anyway, at the end of the day, though, like I do think the optimal diet for humans is to eat animal protein. I just think that is the case, and I do remember on a few occasions, like, cause when I went vegetarian, I was working as like a bartender, and there were nights where I would just be like kind of foggy, and like I think that might have had something to do with the vegetarian diet. Someone actually even told me that the cook at the restaurant said, "You're tired because I told him I was going vegetarian and everything. He said, "Yeah, that's probably why you're having brain fog. It's because of your diet." So anyway, I was only vegetarian for 2 years. Then I went back to eating like a normal diet, and then for the past year or so, past 2 years, I've been doing pretty much a carnivore diet. Like, well, not carnivore, I guess. Maybe it's like paleo. I don't know what they call it. Who fucking cares? I'm eating lots of meat and lots of animal proteins, and really pretty much only seasonal fruit and honey. And then the only like veg that I eat would be like sweet potatoes. Occasionally like garlic and onions and things like that. But so how this relates to the African diet. Recently, this nutritionist or doctor, his name's Paul Saladino, he went on a sort of like a trip, I guess, to immerse himself with this tribe in Africa called the Hasda, who still live like hunter gatherers. And so all they do is forage for like fruit, berries, things like that. But their main diet is all meat, and they hunt their meat. There's no agriculture. They have not developed agriculture, you know. But if you look at them, they are fucking jacked. They have great teeth. They're happy. They're a tight knit tribal community. I would love to spend like a month with them, and like they hunt with spears and bow and arrows. It's like it's totally if you guys follow me, I love ancient history. I love the whole traditionalism, return, all that kind of stuff. So I would love to go and spend and maybe even like live like this. And I have done it at certain times in my life. I have lived very, very rural lifestyle with hardly any modern amenities, and I fucking loved it. So yeah, I think it'd be cool to like spend a month living with this hunter-gatherer tribe and hunting wild boar with spears. Like that's epic. That's awesome. So yeah, I don't know. That could be one example of African food not being so bad. But then they do get up to eating some other weird shit, don't they? Yeah, real men eat meat. Yep. Yeah, again, like I said earlier, it's not so much you are what you eat, it's you are what you absorb. And they're gonna try and sell us. They already have been, but it's gonna be even more and more intense. They're gonna try and sell us the idea that you can be a jacked alpha male, bodybuilder, martial artist, whatever, on a diet of kale and lentils and spinach, because hey, you can get just the same amount of protein from 50 grams of soy as you can from 50 grams of beef. But that's bullshit, because the body absorbs proteins in different ways depending on the source of the protein. So yeah, you want to have a healthy diet, you should eat meat, eggs. Here I'm lucky in that it's not illegal to have whole milk, so I drink whole milk. It's I can get raw milk from like I can buy it online here in Spain, but in the supermarket I can also get there's different types of milk. So there's whole milk, there's leche entera, which is whole milk, but that's still been like pasteurized and stuff. But I can also buy something called leche cruda or leche fresca. Sorry, leche fresca, and that's basically like there's raw milk, and then leche fresca is like it's like the step right below it. It's been treated, but it's not been pasteurized, so it still has like it's like the consistency is really a lot thicker, the flavor is much better, and I assume it has more of like the microbiotics and stuff that you want from that you would get drinking raw milk, without having to deal with like some of the potential unhealthy things that could happen from drinking raw milk that hasn't come from healthy cows. Whereas like in America, for example, I know that that's illegal. I lived on the Illinois-Wisconsin state line, and I can't remember if it was Illinois where it was illegal or Wisconsin where it was illegal, but like I remember some farmer in one of the states, either Illinois or Wisconsin, made the news because he got in trouble because he was selling raw milk, and it was like a big hullabaloo because like the government basically like swooped down and arrested him, and he was in big legal trouble for selling raw milk. So yeah, eat animal proteins. It's good for you, but try and get them from sources that practice regenerative farming, and like people go on about grass-fed this and grass-fed that in the nutritionist circles. It can get really annoying and pretentious. Like in my opinion, grass-fed beef doesn't taste as good. It does have a certain like gamey, earthy flavor to it that's like you can't compare it to like that sort of sweet, succulent flavor that you get from like corn-fed beef. Like a nice big thick cut of corn-fed beef is marbleized and sweet, and it's delicious. So yeah, like grass-fed beef you'll have to adjust to a flavor difference and a big texture difference too. But I think it is definitely healthier for you, and the way that the cows live, the farming practices for grass-fed cows is much better for solving problems like environmental pollution and contamination. What do we got here? Is desertification of Spain a hot topic there? In that Spain is becoming a desert. Something that feels like that where I live in the deep south during the summer. Yeah, it certainly feels like that. Like there's no green for months. Everything just gets burned. So I don't know if is Spain. I remember hearing things about this, that like Spain is having something like really dry, too many dry conditions and stuff like that. I know it's a big concern. Like I was talking to my family in Italy a few days ago, And we've had rain here in Spain for we had like the whole month of March was full of rainy days. But in Italy, they haven't had a drop of rain for like months, and that actually is a pretty common occurrence. But they get really concerned about that because like you have to start regulating water use. To be honest, is it a hot topic? No, it's not something that you hear about. The political parties don't talk about it. Not even the environmentalists, I think, really talk about everything about environment has just shifted to carbon emissions. It's just all carbon emissions, and that's why it's such a false movement. I just have no time for it because like I said earlier in the stream, I actually do care about environmental degradation, contamination, pollution. I care about the fact that we're all consuming 5 milligrams of microplastics, and we've got all these forever chemicals in everything, in the air we breathe, the food we eat, the water we drink. I hate this. I think it's terrible. But nobody cares. Like, Greta Thunberg, Bill Gates, all the green parties, they just care about carbon emissions. They just care about the car you drive, the cows that fart, all that kind of stuff. And I think about all of the pollution from all of the billions and billions of masks, trillions of masks that we've been just throwing into God knows what's being done with them. They're not biodegradable at all. All of the toxic waste from the vaccine fabrications, the needles, all the plastic test kits, like where does that all end up? It's just been a mess. So I really get annoyed by that. It's terrible what's being done to the environment, the planet, right? But again, I think it's more the consequence of industrial society, and the solution is, I think, the Kaczynski solution. It just has to collapse, and we need to live in a much more rural, agrarian lifestyle. How do you do that though? Like, you have to want it, and if it's going to happen naturally, it's going to happen by collapse or by people choosing it. Have you seen the solar power towers in Spain? Okay, the solar power towers. No, I haven't seen any towers. Spain has had a really messed up history with alternative energy, with renewable energy. Similar to what happened in Germany. They built all these wind turbines in the Balearic Islands and the Canary Islands, I think, and they were just a total failure. They did not produce sufficient energy. As far as solar power, a lot of homes have solar panels on them, on the rooftops. Spain, where I live in Spain, in Andalusia, we have like 300 days of sun. It's awesome. It's great. I actually think one of the reasons why I didn't catch COVID when my girlfriend caught COVID was because, and I didn't isolate myself from her. We slept in the same bed. We had meals together. I hugged and kissed her like normal, and I didn't get sick. And I think one of the reasons was because I had spent the entire like from beginning of April until like the end of October, I had spent every day under the sun working out on my rooftop under the sun, like every day or twice a day even, and we just have these really long days. In the summer, we have a really long days. The sun comes up around like 7:30 and it stays in the sky until like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And so I was like vitamin D maxing and I didn't get sick. So a lot of homes have solar power on them, or solar panels on them. I don't know about these solar power towers though. That's new to me. Maybe I have seen them. I just haven't noticed. What's annoying though is that the Spanish government has like kind of they were caught by surprise by people putting solar panels on their homes and getting energy that way. So now they have caught up, and now they're like taxing people. You can't get off the grid now. So now solar panel energy is attached to the grid. You have to pay like taxes on it and everything now. So that's a shame. Okay, guys, let's chat for a few more minutes. I'm gonna wrap this up. I just wanted to chat for like about an hour. Like I said, this was just a test run to make sure everything works well in preparation for tomorrow. So, if there's anything else you want to talk about, go ahead and post your comment or question in the chat now. I'll just hang out here for a few more minutes and then we'll wrap it up. And yeah, reminder, so tomorrow I'm talking with the German pointer about those murders in Ireland. It'll be around like 6 o'clock in the afternoon, Central European time. The German pointer also, he hasn't lived in Ireland for quite some time as well. I think he lives in Spain too, or he lived in Spain. I don't know if he's still in Spain, but he's a good guy. I'm sure he'll have a good perspective. Return to Neolithic, Babyface Nilsson says. Yeah, like I unironically agree. Like some of my happiest moments. I mean, it was kind of like a weird moment in my life too, but some of my happiest moments were just living and working on a farm in the middle of nowhere in the French countryside, with like we didn't have a toilet or a shower. I slept in a Mongolian style yurt, and I chopped firewood to heat up a cast iron stove in the middle of the yurt, and that's how I stayed warm at night. And yeah, it was great. I was talking about this with Thomas Baden Rees a few days ago, and he said like he couldn't imagine living off grid. He couldn't imagine doing it. He needs the amenities and stuff. He hates technology. He hates the imposition of all this stuff and things that I agree on. But he couldn't imagine like living that sort of Neolithic life. But I think we can adapt. Give it 30 days. And I think you wouldn't even miss it. You wouldn't even miss all these amenities. And if you go in with that attitude of like, okay, I'll just adapt to this. It's not gross. It's okay to go you don't have to shower and rub your body with these synthetic soaps every day. You don't need this stuff. You don't need to connect to the internet every day. And if you've got something to occupy your time, occupy your mind, occupy your hands, if you've got things to do and it's fulfilling, at the end of the day, you feel like you did something worthwhile. In my case, I didn't even miss these things. I didn't even notice that they were absent in my life, which is another thing that Kaczynski talks about. Like, why are we so unhappy and unhealthy? It's because in modern world, all of the things we do are surrogate activities. They're imitations of what our ancestors used to do every day to survive, and they felt fulfilled in their daily lives doing these things. So they had to do them, and they had to do them well, or there would be consequences. And if they did them well, they survived. And if they did them really well, they were rewarded with, honor and praise and good reputation. We don't have any of that. We get our food by going to the supermarket. Most of our jobs are meaningless. Like it was unfair and cruel to hear during the past 2 years, the elites, the blue checks on Twitter talking about unessential jobs. Like every person's job is essential for that person. But actually, on the grand scale of things, if you really wanted to be cold-bloodedly analytical about it, yes, most jobs that we're doing today aren't essential. They don't address the essentials. Doing TPS reports on Excel 9 hours a day is not essential. It might be essential to the globalist system, to the global supply lines, to the function of the company, etc. But like for our fulfillment, for our enjoyment, for our survival, no, they're not essential. Lots of towers reflect the sun to a central collection tower. It says they live 23. And the first one was put up in Seville. Huh, okay. I did not know that. I live in a village. Like I live in a town. It's a curious place where I live. It has quite a high population, but it's very concentrated. Like the town where I live in, you can walk from one end of it to the other. You can like sort of traverse the town to the main. It's the one main road, and you can follow that main road from one end of a town where there's this like a town square. That's basically like point A. You can walk the main drag to the other end of the town, which is like a roundabout that leads to a motorway, in like 20 minutes. So I don't know if we have any of those towers here. The blessing of living here is that they haven't been able to, like, I think Vodafone, the local town council tried to do a contract with Vodafone to install 5G, and Vodafone was like, no, this is too small of a town. It's not worth it. Like, you don't have the capacity you don't have the infrastructure to maintain a 5G grid. So I'm spared 5G still for now. Okay, anything else, guys? We're gonna wrap this up in like another minute here. All right. If that's it, then thanks for hanging out with me. Hope you all enjoyed your Easter Sunday, and I'm glad this went well. Audio was good, video was good, and I will see you guys tomorrow, same place on my YouTube channel. Unfortunately, this doesn't stream to Odyssey, so I'll look and see if there's any alternative ways to stream on Odyssey without having to like pay for a premium account. That I'm not interested in doing that, because I do want to support the Odyssey channel. But for now, catch me on YouTube. And if the streams go well, maybe I'll make it like a regular occurrence. We'll see how that works, because I don't usually talk about like topical current news events. So I do know that like I can go long spells without making videos until something piques my interest, something I can do like a nice half an hour, hour-long video on. But I would like to make more videos for the people who are subscribed to me here on YouTube. So maybe doing some live streams every now and again could be a good idea. Let me know what you guys think. All right, guys. Take care, everyone. See you tomorrow. Bye.